stop on by, 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 stop on by. Head on over to the Grimerica Jets.
Yoo-hoo!
Grimerica. So you get these benchmarks to hit, and that's it. That's it. You don't get to sit down and talk to the patient about diet. You don't get to sit down and talk to the patients about their relationships at home, about work.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. We are going to be chatting with Yared Vazquez a little bit later about, we compare the Canadian versus U.S. medical systems a little bit. We talk about Obamacare, how much paperwork this poor guy's got to do every day. And I ran into Yared on Twitter. Seems like a cool cat. He started like doing these Periscope videos and these other videos every day. And nice guy, yeah. And I think he's also like a ringside Octagon Doctor. Fun guy. We had him, I think he was on Tripoli. And then we had him on, and now I think he'll start doing his rounds. So hopefully that is the case. And, of course, we got everybody's favorite co-host here, Graham Beefcake Dunlop. How's it going, buddy?
Good, how you doing?
You're wearing short shorts.
Got the shorts on, yeah. It's finally summer.
Short season is here.
These aren't short shorts, but short enough.
Do you have shorter shorts than that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You probably shouldn't be wearing shorts any shorter than that. You might get charged.
Yeah, that was a good interview with him. Yeah, he's been helping people as well. You know, people with trauma and stuff. I think he had this like little $5 donation thing. So I don't know. I love it when these guys are out there helping people get through their shit. You know, like pro bono.
Or at least as pro bono as you can.
Yeah, and it's good to have a doctor that's interested in all the stuff we talk about as well, because we can talk about a few different things like the healthcare systems and some of the corruption and.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, now he's a part of the community. Hey, we should talk to him, see if he wants to be official Grimerican doctor. Actually, we got a couple doctors.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want an official doctor.
No.
Maybe we don't. Because we got our buddy Mike Hart over in London, cannabis doctor.
Lots of doctors.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine doing the list? Is Joseph P. Farrell a doctor?
I don't know.
And then, oh no, that's Stephen Greer. That was a doctor. Never mind. So how you been? Sunny out?
Yeah, pretty good.
Summer's here.
Yeah, pretty good.
I think I'm going to go for a picnic later down to the river.
Nice.
Yeah. Should be good. Should be good. I'm going to bust into, I'm always itching to play this.
Which one's that?
Get out a pen.
Oh, yeah, you got that.
We finally got our...
What is it? You know what it is.
I don't know what it is for sure.
Send some physical mail to the Grimerica Show at P.O. Box 16033. Next line. 100-815, comma 17th Avenue, SW. Next line. Calgary, Alberta. Next line. Canada. Next line. T2T space 5H7. That's the P.O. Box. Why don't you send Darren some dirty socks?
Well, I have a new quote jingle to play for you, too.
Oh, good.
So anyway, Midnight Mike had messaged me and asked if we had got the package from OBDM yet.
Right.
So I just know it's from OBDM.
Yeah.
Should I give out their
Big
address?
shout out to those guys. Our Big Dumb Mouth.
Yeah, our Big Dumb Mouth podcast. So
They're on the radio network too, and yeah, search them. They're pretty good. They're like a mix between like us and No Agenda kind of, but way funnier.
Here you are, sir. You can start unpacking this while I read the note.
Oh my God, there's snacks.
Yes,
Like Pringles.
Grimerica.
Oh my God.
Thanks for asking us to be a part of your network. We've been slacking and had to change show days. Life. In any event, it means a lot to me that you guys interact with us and are cool. Would love to have you both on OBDM sometime. Hope life is treating you well. Treating you both well. Mike, Joe, Clown Baby. There's a little picture of a sombrero UFO and a little alien with some like smoke around him. I think the alien's getting high, maybe. Thanks, guys. Means a lot getting these notes. What's the Pigman book?
Yeah, it's been awesome getting to know you guys too and being a part of your thing.
100%.
Yeah, they got a great show.
He
A
was
lot
on,
of our listeners used to like I know failed for sure. They used to rave about OBDM, you know.
and Mr. Owl.
Yeah. Mr. L.
13 questions.
Got some stickers.
OBDM was on, or Midnight Mike was on 13 questions.
Yeah,
Great
right.
chat.
Yeah. It's got some stickers, obdm.com. It's all happening stickers. And some Pringles.
Oh, at obdmpod.com. You know what's funny is it's all happening.
No, obdm.
Pod.com. And my reading is pretty good.
Oh,
most
look
of
at
the time.
that sticker. That's fantastic. I'm going to put that on my laptop right now. There's a
Are you going to cover it up later when the
round sticker
like
with
you did with your Trump support sticker?
It's Sasquatch with a heart on, which he gave us a little plastic. Look at that. It looks like the end of his penis was cut off, though.
Did he make this himself? Or?
And then it's with UFOs picking them up. That's an awesome sticker. And then there's some other. Wow, they got lots of OBDM swag.
Wow, we got to get some more
postcards,
stickers going. And postcards.
stickers.
Oh, they say
I
something.
think there's some chocolate treats too. They threw a Kit Kat in there just because they probably
Ooh, a magnet.
knew that I was on a diet. Well, I'm off the diet now, so I gained all my weight back. Some cards.
Some cards. Wow, a swag pack.
More Kit Kats.
Now we got to up them.
I know, this is quite the... Oh, there's Reese's Pieces, little things in there.
Luckily, Graham is off his diet.
Yep.
Everything is game on.
Back up to my 200 pounds as of this morning.
I'm probably losing weight right now.
No, I'm gonna change it up and have a little bit of balance. I'm gonna go back to the no wheat, and I'm just gonna have the desserts a couple times a week kind of thing. Try and get some balance around that instead of just going hardcore.
Are you?
Hardcore nothing, yeah.
I'm trying to find this if I can get it over to the. Wow, well, thanks for the swag pack, boys. Check them out at obdmpod.com.
No, did you mention the book we
They're
got
on
too?
YouTube.
The Pigman?
Yeah, are you going to read it?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
I don't know. It looks kind of creepy.
There's no cash in it.
I think it's an important
Assassin,
book.
wife and husband, boatman, lover. Huh. Looks old.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll read it. Looks like a quick read. I mean, you could read this book in a couple of hours. You're not willing to give it a couple hours? Guy takes time to mail you this book, and you're just like, nah, not into it.
Well, I thought it's probably for you.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I'll read it. I'll let you know who it's for.
Okay.
All right.
I got about 10 books I'm reading for the show right now.
I like the dinosaur jizz sticker. Diaper Boys and Jizz Wizards. OBDM. We need some more stickers.
That's a magnet, isn't it?
Or magnet, yeah. We need some more some different stickers. So, what do you got?
Well, I don't know. I got a couple quotes. I got an email.
No quotes yet. I'm looking for the email.
I got an interesting email about... I won't say who this is from yet, but we were emailing back and forth about UFOs and stuff like that. Have you... So this guy, he spent his childhood sneaking into Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. This is where the Roswell...
that does not seem like a good idea.
This is where Roswell the wreckage from Roswell was supposed to have gone, right? Obviously, he was a military brat. And he says, you want to see weird shit? Go hang out at Huffman Prairie for the night. No UFO people even talk about Huffman Prairie. That's because they've never been on the base. Huffman Prairie is right where the Wright brothers set up the first catapult to launch the first gliders. And that structure is still there. And he says when he was 14, they snuck in and spent the night there. The significance of that spot cannot be overstated. Modern flight began there. So supposedly we took alien bodies and spaceships to Wright-Patterson, where human flight began. Coincidence? I think not. The museum is full of clues. Anyways, here's a picture of... So he sent a picture. And I was asking him what he thinks...
Where is that? Wright-Patterson.
Can't remember. Arizona?
Let's check it out. Well, it must be somewhere near New Mexico. Maybe we drove right by it.
Yeah, maybe.
We were close to Dolce, weren't we?
I know.
Yeah.
Dulce
Dolce.
Gabbana. So I asked him what he thinks the significance of that spot is, like portal type thing or what. And he says Huffman Prairie was right where the Wright brothers developed the early gliders. They later took to Kill Devil Hill, South Carolina. When you stand in the middle of the prairie, if you look north, you will see a squadron of F-16s on standby 24/7 and a fleet of KC-135 supertankers. When you look south, you can see the supposed Hangar 18, when you also see a church steeple around where alien bodies were supposedly buried in unmarked graves. So then he gets into some interesting stuff. Also, I wondered, do you know anything about a group of Germans in the 1850s in California fooling around with what later would become the Nazi Bell technology? Supposedly, there's a link between them and NIMSA.
NIMSA.
So I was thinking about that chat we had with
Bosley.
Yeah,
Bosley? Walter?
Yeah.
Now, he was on 13 Questions too.
Also, did you know a paperclip Nazi named Dornberger ended up running Bell helicopters?
What the no.
And his protege was Michael Payne. Michael Payne and Ruth Payne gave Lee Harvey a job and a place to stay when they returned from Russia, the USSR.
Really?
Oh, I don't know, apparently.
Well, I guess.
Also, did you know that the guy that owned the schoolbook depository was Admiral Byrd's cousin?
Where the JFK got shot at it?
Yeah.
Huh.
And his other cousin is a Georgia senator that has a mountain named after him in Antarctica. I mean, these are those weird connections that make you wonder about the deep state, right? And our history.
Oh, yeah.
Admiral Byrd going to Antarctica, all that stuff from him and what he said to reporters in South America.
What did he say?
Well, he said there's craft back then, which was in the early 1900s, I think, or the 1930s, that can fly like from coast to coast in seconds. I can't remember the exact quote. Like pole to pole. Craft that can fly pole to pole. And then their trip got cut short, and they basically got forced back to.
Too bad he's dead. Be a great interview.
No kidding. So his cousin owned the schoolbook depository, which is really interesting. And then, his other cousin was a senator.
I don't think it was a schoolbook depository, was it?
Would he be like, make my cousin senator and name a
mountain after him. And I'll shut up.
Yeah.
Probably not.
And then he says, used to be you could only get to Huffman Prairie if you had a military ID. Now it's open to the public. And he says, I wonder if that's part of that bullshit TTSA disclosure. On a lighter note, right pat fact, the public road that leads to the base was named after Major Richard Bong.
Rich Bong?
Dick Bong.
Dick Bong.
The street sign used to read Major Bong Drive. They changed it recently to Bong Street because everyone kept stealing the signs. Haha, Dick Bong. LOL.
Bong Street's probably a pretty popular sign to get stolen as well.
Dick Bong Drive instead of Dick Bong Drive.
We should say thanks for the television, eh?
Oh, for sure. 100%. Yeah. A listener of the show drove up a couple hours south of here. Drove up
Brandon?
And dropped off a...
Was it Brandon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I didn't know if you want to say who it was.
First names are
dropped
okay,
off a TV, a little flat screen that Darren's actually used. He's got set up right beside his chair right now. A little bit...
Precariously.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. It has to be angled properly.
Big help.
Yeah, he drove it up for us. I'm going to go for lunch with him next week.
Nice.
And huge thanks. Helps. Money we don't have to spend. We say the show is 100% value for value, so we don't get money for anyone but the listeners. So instead of giving us some money, I think he has a monthly as well. But anyway, he brought us a television, which we can now use instead of buying one for the ones to replace one of the ones that I broke during the move. So we're slowly crawling back up to where we were.
Yeah, this is the time, man. This is the time where independent media, I think it needs its support more than ever. I mean, this is like we are getting caught in the crossfires. Not us personally, but it will happen. But all your favorite independent YouTubers and podcasters are in the crossfire. I mean, if you listen to I don't know how much I really buy into this part of it, but I mean, a lot of our listeners listen to the No Agenda, but it's kind of like this battle over advertising dollars, like between Google and the digital media and the mainstream media and the papers and stuff, where like, you can tell that there's a lot of this, the dollars that are going to Google now.
Yeah, well,
forms of Google, like YouTube or...
You know for sure we'd be in way less trouble right now if we were advertise support based and way more concerned.
Way more trouble, you mean?
Probably. I mean, if we were monetized on...
way less trouble.
Oh, way more.
Yeah, way more trouble. Yeah.
Like if we were counting on YouTube ad monetization, I mean, you never know day to day where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Or
So,
even
I mean,
if
I feel, go ahead.
any of that ad revenue right now. Any show that's the least, even if it's not controversial, anything that's based on ad revenue right now has got to be a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
Because that's what maybe not 100%, but that's definitely playing a role in why I think the media at least is pumping it up so aggressively.
Yeah.
Because the media doesn't want anyone advertising on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, for me,
And I still think YouTube shouldn't be ad based. I think ad based.
well, your
I think
solution is pretty cool, actually.
I think you should
I would rather have that.
pay the same way we pay for Libsyn. You should pay, maybe anywhere between like 15 and 100 or I don't know, 200. I don't know what the rates would be.
Depending
so
on
there's a couple ways.
Depending on how much you upload.
There's a couple ways to do it. It could be an upload limit. So you get so many megabytes or minutes per month. And you can do different sliding tiers. Or maybe I think that would be the best way to do it.
And that's how YouTube gets
it. And that's how it gets its monetization.
Yeah, but that doesn't...
it would cut down on their cost by probably 70 to 80%. And they'd have guaranteed revenue.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you flip that switch, a lot of people are going to stop going to YouTube. If you can't go for free, you're going to pay $100 a month to make videos of you sitting in your bath tube playing with Elsa and Anna dolls.
No, but that probably wouldn't be 100. That might be 15 or 20. But even still, that might be, that might be a hard sell, or at least I don't know.
Because that kind of creeps into that thing is that where free things, you can't trust free shit unless it's a Grimerica show. You can trust it, but you should still support it at grimerica.ca/support. But in general, when things are free, and this is the problem with, I think, with Twitter, Facebook, all of it, is that the free nature of it, brings the, I don't think it's as good of an argument for Facebook and Twitter. What they're doing is different. But being on YouTube, having it be added, YouTube shouldn't be free. I get the ad model and everything else, but I would prefer to see the advertisers completely out of it and have it be like Libsyn is.
Well, the No Agenda guys think it's all about the ad revenue, and I don't really agree with that. I think there is a control, there is more of a conspiracy around it, and there's a message.
Well, never let it get.
There's really they're very inconsistent.
But that could be because the left is so good at censorship, at boycotting and phoning. And you know what I mean? It seems like, and I'm not taking a stance here, but it seems like the left is good at calling people and outraging. They're good at outraging. And because on the right,
it's not
historically, the right is less likely to try and get your rights or your shit taken away than the left is right now anyway.
Yeah, but that's you're looking at it from a freedom model versus like a libertarian almost versus socialism type thing. When it's about the people that are in charge and their views. Like now the people that are in control can get their message across.
And that's not helping.
So it's not to me. It's not about the people that are screaming the loudest from below. It's the
I can't solve those problems.
Like there's a big tech conspiracy over authoritarianism. When you look at...
I could solve the YouTube problem, though.
If you look at Facebook and YouTube and how they were developed with help from the government, like there's lots of legitimate evidence that shows there's part of a bigger plan kind of to control things.
That could well be. But I could fix YouTube. They should give me a call. I'm sure there's plenty of smart people at YouTube that have considered that or brought that up, but... Then you lose the clicks.
Then you lose the control, the global control. They're controlling the message right now. It's getting really, really bad, and this is the time when people have to start supporting their independent media.
Because this Crowder's still on YouTube. He's still on there. He's just not monetized.
Yeah, but it's not going to be long before they start. They've how many videos they've removed? Like 9 million a quarter off of YouTube.
Wow.
And that's just, they say it's a fraction of 1% are these videos that are the problem. You saw that whole New York Times article, right? Which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Especially when he seemed to go left at the end.
And they're throwing what's that guy's name? The news guy, Philip DeFranco in that bunch, and Tim Pool and all. Come on.
Grimerica.ca/support. Check this out.
Profound quote of the week. Darren, can you guess it?
Sounds like Felix. No, it's not.
Profound quote of the week. Can you guess the human who spoke it or wrote it down? Profound quote of the week.
That was sent in by friend of the show, Will. Will S.
Thanks, Will.
You'd know him if I said his full name. I don't want to say his full name, but you'd know him. He's been in the community for a while.
Yeah.
Great new little jingle.
Okay, here's the first one. You might be able to guess this guy, but I doubt it.
I'll try my best.
I try and pick them that are appropriate to the show that we're, introing here. Near-death experiences occur in every part of the world, in the young, people, and the old. It is critical counter-evidence for the old paradigm theory of consciousness. There is no known physiological mechanism that could account for conscious experience in a non-functioning brain. The consciousness that then occurs cannot have been a product of the brain.
Rupert Sheldrake.
No, close.
Damn it.
This is one of the guys that when we talk about who we would want to have on, like he's pretty high up on that list. Dr. Irvin Laszlo, systems theorist, and he's twice nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Ooh, well, I'm working on
He's
Ike.
that biocentrism guy.
And who else was I?
I got another one here too.
Okay.
This is good. This is from the Business of Sickness chapter from Charlie Robinson, The Octopus of Global Control. It is simply no longer possible to believe much of the clinical research that is published or to rely on the judgment of trusted physicians or authoritative medical guidelines. I take no pleasure in this conclusion, which I have reached slowly and reluctantly over my 2 decades as an editor of the New England Journal of Medicine.
Rupert Sheldrake.
Dr. Marcia Engel, she's a physician, editor-in-chief of the New England Medical
I never
Journal.
got that.
No. You don't have to guess them all. Just,
Okay. It's a lot of pressure.
I should probably just tell you when.
It's a lot of pressure.
I should probably just tell you when you can't.
It's too much. So anyway, I shouted out a few times there doing your little spiel, but Grimerica.ca/support, guys. Really do count on you guys. Support's actually been down for the last month or so it'd be nice to see that sort of.
Well, I think the PayPal might have been messed up. So if people have tried.
Yeah, PayPal's have been canceled. That's right. I'm going to take a look at that tonight. So I'm going to actually see if there's an update for that script. So if you've tried the PayPal, it's not working, let me know.
There's a bunch of other ways too, but I mean, let us know for sure. Graham at Grimerica.com or Darren at Grimerica.com.
It's all on the support page, on the Grimerica.ca support page. All the different options are there: PayPal, Patreon, Stripe, all that. But yeah, it really does help. Like I say, May was a slow month, and April was kind of slow too. So it's tax season. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody's got a refund though. I don't know. Whatever you can do, though, it really does help. Head over to Grimerica.ca/support and hit that support button. Find a number that works for you. Sign up for a monthly. I actually know I do owe a couple people some custom emails that the button wasn't working for. I'll get those out tonight as well. But yeah, it does help, guys, and it really helps us know that you appreciate the value that you're getting from the show. Eggs us on. Plus, what did we do? Like a show a week last week?
Show a day, you mean?
A show a day, yeah. Pumped out like 6 shows in 7 days.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That is not bad. All free.
Can't do that every 6 years.
This will be 356 free podcasts. So what's the next milestone? It's like 500, I guess.
Sure.
All right.
400.
400?
Yeah, sure.
Is that a milestone? It's 400, 420.
420, yeah, that'll be good. Let's just skip 400 and go right to 420.
We'll skip it. Before we wrap it up, we could jump into some like...
Bingo, bango, social media jingle. Don't forget to rate, comment, and or subscribe to the Grimerica newsletter. Bingo, bango, social media jingle.
All right, speaking of the... Oh, actually, let's go to Facebook. Fuck it.
What were you
I was going to go to YouTube, but I'll go to this one instead. I'll go to, what advice would you give your younger self? Gloria, get enough sleep, learn about vaccines and GMO glyphosate sprayed foods.
Nice.
Catherine Layton, don't vaccinate your kids. 41 likes.
Oh, wow.
From Lori, the only thing ever regretted anything was when I ignored that still small voice, aka instinct, and listened to advice of people who supposedly knew better. In short, trust your instincts. Caleb Monroe, nothing. Some lessons are best learned the hard way. Mary Beth, figure out what you want to do with your life. I'm 41 and I still don't know. Ashley, don't use credit cards. Porter, work smart and forget about harder. Be kinder to myself and look up the definition of empath and narcissist. Ruth, trust your gut and always read the ingredient list in everything. Don't believe anything you're taught in public school without researching it for yourself. From Sherry, a retired public school teacher. Thomas Fritzler, save money whenever you can. Old age creeps up faster than you think. Pat Militek, friend of the show, live a simple life. Says the former UFC heavyweight champion of the world.
Who's doing a conspiracy podcast.
From Trevor, trust your gut and don't sweat the small stuff. From Kathy, other people's approval is overrated. From Travis, slow down, live in each moment. From Brett, marriage is a work in progress. Don't stop. Take dancing lessons with her. Don't take her for granted. Hold her hand and never let go. Fargo, don't vaccinate you or your children. That was a common answer. Wow, there's a lot. There's about 98 comments on this.
Wow.
Stay in school, knucklehead. Don't go to college. Don't change. Well, you got to change. I don't agree with that one.
Well, it depends. Don't change on somebody else's expectations.
Yeah, that's right. You should don't be afraid of change, I guess. Don't eat so damn much.
That's a good one.
Get out of town.
As I'm ready to eat one of those treats that was just sent to the...
Yeah. Drop acid.
God, it's all melted.
Read more and let it go. Anyway.
Yeah.
There's the Facebook. There's the socials. Support the show. Grimerica.ca/support.
Yeah, send emails in. We'd like to hear from you.
Spam Graham.
Graham at Grimerica.com. On Instagram, and Darren's on Twitter.
That's right. And we got the chats. Grimerica.ca/chats.
I can't keep up in there.
You got to get in the chats.
Pretty good.
You got to support the show. If you're looking for the links to all the stuff's in the show notes. Get into the show notes. Sign up today. Review the show. You can, you could probably do everything in the show notes within like 5 minutes right now. You just pause. If you're driving, pull over, pause, grab your phone, head over to the support page, sign up for monthly. Even if it's $1 a month, at least you're in the game now. You're started. You got someplace to start. $1 a month. Maybe the guy $1 a month isn't worth it. It's worth it. It's fucking worth it.
Yeah.
And then review the show quick. That'll take you 2 more seconds. And then maybe share it. That's enough for today. Mm-hmm. Sign up for the newsletter. That's a good way to share the show, is just signing people up for the newsletter anonymously. Anyway, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Graham's got a face full of chocolate, so he can't really talk anyway. He's got chocolate on his hands. Pretty soon he's going to have chocolate on his shirt. Enjoy the chat with Yared Vazquez.
All right, so tonight we've got the Octagon Doctor with us, Dr. Yared Vazquez. Nice to meet you, Yared. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, guys.
I didn't want to do too much of a bio. We can talk about that and what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, I've heard you on a couple shows talking about your ringside attention and also stuff about the healthcare system. So, looking forward to talking about that. We've got lots of experience up here with our Canadian one, and we hear lots of things down there about the U.S. one. So, it'll be nice to kind of compare and contrast a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you? Are you still helping out the MMA fighters and all that?
Yeah, I am doing. Initially, I started in Iowa. Shout out to Pat Militish and Josh Neer. I just learned the ropes working with leagues that are affiliated to the UFC, Victory Fighting Championships, PFL, all those leagues up there in the Midwest.
Uh-huh.
And just had a grand time, and had a chance to work with some amazing athletes. Had a chance to do vlogs and experience, because my thought process was, hey, I want to experience what these guys experience to better understand injuries. And went to this jiu-jitsu gyms, rolled and felt, so I had the city squished out of me by farm boy fighters down there, and quickly learned what the toll of, what the sport does to the fighter's body. And it's grueling, but it was a beautiful process. I enjoyed every moment of it. And still to this day, I do work doing fighter physicals, doing fights down here in Florida. So I'm still very, very connected to the community.
Nice. And do you still train yourself a little bit, or?
Yeah. I go to jiu-jitsu once or twice a month. Of course, I'm working a whole bunch, but it's still passion. White belt for life, of course. I enjoy it. I've practiced with greats like Josh Neer, with Croyler Gracie down in Indiana, Mike Estes. So, I've cut my teeth with some very cool people.
Right
and got
on.
to hang out with them.
Right on.
That's great. We share a lot of conspiracy love.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of the podcast. Huge fan of Sam Tripoli's podcast too. So. Yeah, I believe conspiracy theories are, a lot of people see it as, that was one of the first points I wanted to make. A lot of people see it, oh man, this conspiracy theories are fringe, people on the fringes, and extreme thought process. And it's nothing more. The mind recognizes patterns to, ward yourself of risk. Conspiracy theories are just a natural part of the brain. You're working out theories because subconsciously you're always working on your own survival instincts. So you want to gather as much evidence as possible. And that's a healthy way of thinking, right? The scientific method tells you, if you want to do a scientific, test, you have two hypotheses. You have to have a bag for, yes, this is how it goes. And you also have to have a bag for, no, that's not how it goes. I was completely wrong. So if you apply that to any thought process, any type of conspiracy theory, it makes sense to research and learn about everything.
Yeah, that's what we just like to have interesting conversations, and we don't have the answers here, and we address some conspiracy theories for sure, just like Tinfoil Hat and those guys. But we recognize the patterns, and some of it's hard to ignore, and it's good to talk about it and flesh it out a little bit. It's when you start realizing that, we have been lied to about certain things, it's like you say, you start looking for patterns, and then you start realizing, oh man, it's happening all over the place, and then you kind of end up going down the rabbit hole. But we try not to get into the extreme ones like you mentioned. We stay pretty real here.
Good. That's always good. But it's a healthy way of thinking. When somebody comes to you with a piece of information and they're so solid and vehemently defending it without giving space for different thought, that person is full of BS and it's not to be trusted, right?
Yeah.
You as a true scientific man, you see Graham Hancock all the time, when he's talking about a theory, he always leaves that sliver of space that, they could be wrong, but this is what I think is right. So if somebody doesn't tell you, hey, this could be wrong. Like when I talk about, vaccines and stuff, and people bring their concerns to me. I can't just pull up one scientific study and say, hey, this is absolute proof that X and Y and Z. I can say, hey, this could be the benefit. This could be, there's no biological free lunch. There's always side effects to everything. So you just have to educate openly.
Yeah.
That's a big, part of the message.
Well, that's a great example. I mean, I was going to bring it up, but I didn't want to because it's so polarizing. But that's the one where, you're talking about leaving a little bit open for discussion. And there's some topics that they don't even want to talk about. They won't even debate. The science is settled, and the science isn't really very often settled. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's see. If I'm an internal medicine physician. That's my bread and butter. Chronic conditions, cardiac conditions, pulmonary, health maintenance, health screening, all that stuff. So when I'm talking about, if I tell a patient that's a diabetic, you absolutely cannot eat cake. And you cannot eat delicious cake. You will never eat cake. And if you eat cake, you're going to be out of my practice. If I see you, what's the human instinct? Oh, forget this, doctor. I'm going to eat cake. I want to eat cake. So you want to negotiate. You want to be flexible. You want to have a relationship. You want to have a conversation like this with patients or with somebody that you're trying to explain something. Open conversation is the best way to share ideas.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. So how long have you been a doctor in the States then? You were in Puerto Rico. You went to an American school in Puerto Rico. And then you've been in the States and you're practicing in the States now, realizing all the constraints that you have to deal with there, and maybe talk a little bit about the differences of stuff you've learned while you've been in also missionary in Mexico and working in the States and Puerto Rico.
It's a vast landscape of differences. They're different worlds. I mean, you cross over on that south border, and medical is a different world, right? I had the same preconceptions. I traveled to Mexico as a 23-year-old from Puerto Rico. I mean, we are a U.S. territory, so we are U.S. citizens. I traveled there with the same, we're fed the same cultural nuances about different races and about different places in the world. So I was flying in there expecting to see, tumbleweed and cacti and all these poverty. But, I landed in Guadalajara, Mexico, and it was this rich cultural city with European influence and with so much to give to a student. It's an amazing experience like this. But at the same time, you drive 10 miles and you're in absolute poverty and you are experiencing, indigenous cultures and usage of psychedelics by these indigenous cultures. You're learning shamanic medicine and learning how to understand and respect that, because when you're experiencing that culture, teachers there, physicians that are guiding you through these experiences, they're teaching you this, and this is not taught in the States. You're never going to see a teaching space for saying, hey, this group of people are using peyote for their, when teenagers are going that rite of passage to being an adult, and they're getting those peyote induced hallucinogenic states, and then they cross over as a big celebration. So you would never be able to respect that and observe that neutrally and respect the way that culture handles that process, that turning from a kid to a man. And we need a little bit of that. We need a little bit of understanding to the nuances of different populations.
I think in the West we've really fucked up that process of kids becoming men specifically. I mean, that's one I have experience with. I'm a man. But there seems to be an initiation in a lot of the hunter-gatherer and it seems like the older the culture, or the more traditional the culture, the more there seems to be that initiation into manhood, whether it's, go out in the bush for a little while or go on a walkabout or go hunt by yourself or whatever. I mean, I guess in today's culture, I suppose the bar mitzvahs and things like that are sort of along those lines, but outside of those religious ones, I don't think there's much. And that's where I often say that's where kids are turned into gangs and things like that for that fulfillment, whether it's a video game or a gang or a whatever.
Yeah, there's a bit of an identity crisis that you don't know. You really don't know. It's that gray zone. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. I was 17, 16, and 3 years are so quick. 3 years go by flying. So 1 minute you're 17 and you're still eating, toaster strudel, and the next minute you're 21 and you're supposed to make life-changing decisions, and you're still a kid. So there's no like a black and white way. And there's people that prepare their kids, granted, that's that space of different thought. Yeah, there's families that are really adept in training their offspring. And so, hey, this threshold, you're a man, this is what you do. But most people, it's just comfort. It's just comfort. And yeah, now you're an awkward 25-year-old that doesn't know what the hell to do, in the next 25 years of their life. So yeah, it's something that we're missing.
So you mentioned the shamanic traditions and some of the healing that happens there, and that was valuable to your process, and it doesn't really happen in the Western thing. So would that include stuff like placebo and intentions? And I mean, we were just talking about that with our last guest. So do you have room for that kind of more spiritual stuff in your practice as well? Like if people are on a negative kind of track, I mean, is there stuff that you can do to help them with their state of being as well?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about perception of information. First of all, I go into an exam room. I dress like doctor. I look the part, and I have conversations with them. I'm not near the computer. I'm never near a computer. I'm not typing. I'm looking you straight in the eye and having a direct conversation with you as a patient. That in itself, that small decision gives a different tone to the encounter. And then you compare and contrast and you respect. I have a lot of contacts with, like in Florida, I'm practicing in Florida. So there's a ton of people from Russia. There's a ton of people from Venezuela. There's a ton of people from Brazil, from Puerto Rico, from the Dominican Republic. All these cultures have all the little bit of not shamanic, but more of a folk medicine. So you have to know it. You have to study it. You have to see, a Russian man that's in pain. They tend to be stoic. So you really have to focus on the physical exam and making him feel reassured that it's okay to accept pain. But a person from another culture, it's going to be different. Let's say you have Middle Eastern cultures. The man is a very strong, potent force, and you have to have a different approach to their female kind of their wives. So you have to learn to adapt and respect. When they see that from a physician, there is a process of kind of easing into the encounter and letting go. Like, okay, this guy is a real doctor. It's cool. Let's exchange information. And just the current landscape of medicine, it's pressuring us into not doing that, right? The Affordable Care Act and the adoption of electronic health records, it pushes your keyboards here all the time. Okay, what you came in here for? They want you to evaluate things. I'm going to give you this example, right? They want you to evaluate 7 or 8, aspects of whatever visit. Let's say you come in with an ankle pain. This is the way it's supposed to go. Okay, you're in here for an ankle pain, just an ankle pain. If you need to talk about something else, we can schedule another visit. When did it start? It started Tuesday. How does the pain look like? Or how does it feel like? It's burning. Scale from 1 to 10. This much. Moderate, mild, or severe. Okay. And you're going through these kind of checklists, very mechanical checklists. And at the end, you make your decision making and you send them off, right? In a perfect world, in a perfect mechanical world, that's how an efficient encounter is supposed to happen. Not like, hey, good afternoon, I'm your doctor. Let's talk about what's going on here. Tell me in your words. If I say that, that puts me behind, and that pushes me to, okay, I'm going to be behind in my documenting, in my
in your analysis. Yeah.
Yeah, my sense, not analysis per se, but it's almost like you stop being a physician and now you're a secretary. Now you're a census employee taking demographic data and health data and inputting. It's data entry, pretty much. So they took out that the cool part about the connection about being a physician. They stripped it away. It's like close-up magic. Nobody has seen it happen. People feel, oh man, doctors suck lately. These doctors, man, they don't care. But there was a genesis and there was a start to it. So it was all this changing to electronic health records.
How long has that been now?
Oh, it's been like that since 2009.
2009.
2009. Yeah.
It's a tough one because I mean it is obviously beneficial if you have that information in a database, and we've got we go to the doctor here so many times and to have to try and you have to repeat yourself to the doctor a million times to different doctors, and I'm assuming that the digital records would help in that way where they get transferred all over to all they get pulled up by the specialist when they see you, and hopefully they get pulled up. But I can see what you mean about losing the connection with the patient. Like, there's got to be, a better way.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I've heard it described as like the federal government trying to take away sort of the even erode the doctor patient confidentiality sort of take that relationship away and make it sort of like the government and the.
Go ahead.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. More than the doctor-patient confidentiality, I think it's more of kind of directing the feel of the encounter and pushing the vector, the intensity of the vector, or the direction of medicine to value-based. Right? It's not comfort. It's not, hey, this doctor knows me. I'm having a good relationship. He's going to know me. He's going to know my kids, and probably I'm going to be able to grow old, and this relationship will get easier because that's the way it was before, right?
Yeah.
There was a doctor in town, a couple doctors in town, and there was healthy competition, right? If you're a shitty doctor, pardon my language, if you're a bad doctor and you're in town, and there's a doctor that's really good, you're going to get more patients, and you're going to be able to thrive, and you're going to have great relationships with your patient and be able to get them to their health goals. But now it's more of, are you a doctor that can save the system save the system money and get these metrics, all these checks and balances taken care of? Well, then you get more population shunted to you, and you handle more cases. So it's a value-based instead of quality-based.
So it's right. So it's more statistical gathering now. And do you think that the genesis of this, like you're talking about in 2009, was this data is getting, your name's getting stripped away from it, like I've heard you explain before, and it is getting sold to certain companies and all that. But would you think that the genesis of that was for efficiency, or was it always for data, for selling that data, for compiling it and selling it and using that data? Or is it just or is the intention more pure that like we need to start utilizing electronics so we can manage patients better?
Yeah, I think it was more a little bit of both, a little bit of hey, let's structure this, because if the goal of, the politic party that was, and I'm neutral, I'm a person that's, I'm in the physician party, in the health party,
Yeah.
But the political party that was in power at the moment, they were always building up to single payer and government-run healthcare, as completely, and it made sense for that to be one of the steps towards it, because you're mandating electronic health records. So everybody has to be on some sort of electronic health records, or you do not get reimbursed. Right?
Oh, okay.
They had some bonuses for adopting it early. So a ton of companies went into the mix and made a whole bunch of money. A whole bunch of tech companies made a killing off of this. All this money that belonged to patients and belong to physicians and people that work in true healthcare got shunted away to the electronic sector. So you saw this new character enter the clinic, enter the hospital as the IT manager and the IT person. It took a huge central role in hospitals and clinics all across America. And there was a huge exodus of old physicians and it was, for physicians are very, very valuable, right? If you're
the
a physician,
experience. Imagine the experience.
Jesus. Yeah. It's it's almost like erasing the memory and getting the because these doctors have character. I remember doctors in the 80s and 90s. There were characters. Most of them had bow ties. That's why I like rocking a bow tie or a tie and getting, having a nice jacket on, because it gave you a presence. It gave you a feel. Guess what happened when it's 20 something electronic health records have to be started and everybody has to be changed over, and it's the law. We had a massive exodus, almost like when you see those the movies, the extinction movies, and you see all the elephants and the mammoths just going to the tar pits to die. So a lot of physicians that were close to retirement age, but could have had a good 3 to 5 years helping us younger physicians transition and getting their knowledge, and they got kind of swiftly put out to the pasture to retire. We lost a lot of our older, more experienced base.
Was it their choice, or were they pushed out, or a bit of both?
No, a little bit of both. Imagine it's not rare.
I can imagine the learning curve. I mean, it would be frustrating going from a paper and a system you've been using for 30 years to having to plug stuff into a laptop that's in between you and a patient. I mean,
correct. Massive exodus of physicians. I was in a practice in Iowa, and there was two fantastic doctors, one internal medicine like me and one family practice, and they were very eager. They're like, yeah, we're going to give it our best shot. A weekend, 2 weeks in, and they were having the worst time. All the joy got sucked out of their faces, and they just, we began seeing all this retirement parties in different practices around the state, and it's like, oh, you're getting RSVP'd for Dr. So-and-so's retirement party. I'm like, what's
another
happening?
One. Yeah.
Falling off like leaves. It's wild.
So this was the setup in 2009 so everything went electronic, like get on the electronic records, and this seemed to be a step in the right direction for the government to go to something more like single payer. And then, when did Obamacare start up?
Oh man,
I think it was 2012 or 2013 or something like that, or
2013. I believe it was 2013.
So,
and electronic. Yeah, I think I'm mistaken. EHR, electronic health records on Obamacare, is around 2013. Yeah.
Okay, so it was the same thing. Was that the same thing then? Oh, okay.
I mistook the dates.
That's okay. So that came around the same time then. Okay, that makes sense. That's kind of what I thought. But so then describe some of the other failings maybe of that besides the electronic part. Like what do you think of the system after traveling around and seeing other systems as well? I mean, how is that system performing now, do you think?
I think a big thing that is celebrated is like, okay, 20 million more people got coverage and are insured.
Right.
But you can say you're insured, but you're most definitely not covered. Now, let me bring you back to a case of a diabetic patient. You're a diabetic patient, and you are having you're under Obamacare. You have your plan, mid-tier plan. You go to your internal medicine physician, and you got to go to the formulary. Now, as a doctor, I'm like, okay, I got Mr. Juan Gonzalez, Latino, 45 years of age. What can I prescribe? You cannot get the best insulin. You cannot have the best medication covered. So you're covered with basic medication. So you have a plan that's, I wouldn't say mediocre, because in some instances there's a good part. Cancer patients are covered, and there's kids and different severe illnesses that are covered, and that there's people getting a good benefit from it. But for most people, it's not. So you're working with a plan that is not covering, that's trying to save money and go to value-based, because the way private insurances survive under the ACA is providing value-based care. So it's providing health. You're getting paid more for just keeping everybody at bay, right? How old are you guys?
48.
You don't mind me?
48. And
48.
Darren's 37?
38.
38.
Let's say you're 48. So what's the target? I got to check if you have diabetes. I got to check if you have cholesterol, and I have to ask you, hey, have you had a family member that has cancer? And in the colon, maybe we have to bump it, the colonoscopy to check for colon cancer 10 years earlier. So you get these benchmarks to hit, and that's it. That's it. You don't get to sit down and talk to the patient about diet. You don't get to sit down and talk to the patients about their relationships at home, about work,
Stress.
about, exactly. And then it puts you in front of the patient's eyes. Oh, this doctor's not good. So then there's no attachment to the doctor. And if there's no attachment to the doctor, a health system can get rid of that doctor like that.
Well, here we got the problem more is like my doctor's seeing so many patients in a day that we lose all that. Like you gotta go see.
Yeah.
I mean, it took my wife years and dozens of visits to the doctor to finally get the diagnosis. That to get the right test at the right time, and because he's not paying attention. He's a nice guy, but he's just. You walk into his office and the waiting room's crammed all the time, and he's probably seeing 100 people a day.
Yeah, it's wild. It's incredibly wild, because all this stuff, I graduated from med school almost going into 11 years. So when I went through classes, that's not what was being taught. I was being showed the right way of medicine. I trained. I had a benefit of training with this generation that retired.
Oh.
Those were my mentors. I was still getting grinded down, and I was still having that beautiful, masochistic relationship with my mentors of being 48 hours in the hospital, hating it, but loving it at the same time. But kids now going up in the system, I have a brother in med school right now. And he's just 12-hour shifts, more focused on computers. He's getting taught how to chart, and it pisses me off, because I'm like, man, I'm going to grow old, and these are the people that are going to be taking care of me, and it scares the crap out of me. We should all be scared.
Isn't the rates going up as well for the ACA as well? I mean, isn't it harder Isn't it harder for people to afford it as well?
Yeah. What happened is, middle class America. I think one of the promises was that your premium was going to go down. Premium for an average family of 4 people. Wife, husband, 2 kids. It went up about $1,500 a year plus not the copays. But the deductibles went up too. So that nobody takes that into account. So that deductible is the money that you have to pay out of pocket before the insurance takes over. Yeah. So most of those deductibles went up maybe 45%. Oh. So you're having to cover $5,000 plus pay around. So average family is paying more money for health insurance that they pay in mortgage and car. So it's also almost like they're paying a second mortgage and a second car just by insurance alone.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
it's tough to factor in where the Canadian system is a sliding scale, so it's all based on income. I think they say it's somewhere between like 25 and 40% of our tax money goes into the healthcare system.
Exactly. And
about
we
25 to 40, yeah. And we're taxed to the hilt. I mean, 45% before all the other taxes. There's just all the income taxes.
It's working out to. I mean, I would say on average that would put the average Canadian out would be able to, if they had that money in their pocket, they'd probably have about $1,000 a month to put into their health plan.
Exactly, and it's for me, it's a no-brainer. We already have a single-payer system. It's called Medicaid and Medicare, right? So if you live under the poverty line, you have a single-payer system, which is the government paying for your health. But it's that push to make middle-class America pay more. And if you don't have a plan, you have to pay a fee. So that kind of takes away your freedom. So if you're a young guy, and you're making a little bit if you're a young, successful guy that's making good money, you're going to have to pay fees. You're going to have to say, okay, let me pay a fee or not have a plan. And it's just a huge mess, right? If you left the free market for the middle class and the people that, can afford it, just let it be, let it play out, let it happen. And you already have 2 single-payer systems. Plus, you have 3 because we have the VA. The VA is a government-run plan for veterans and their families. So politicians, just this narrative, like, no, we need a single-payer system. It's like, wait a minute. We have 3 of those already in place. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's
but they're not going to say that in the news.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make sense? We already have 3 of those.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think about the government stepping in on health decisions like that? I mean, the other big hot item right now is vaccines, and you got a bunch of states that are getting ready to, if not mandate them for school, you've got states that are actually talking about just mandating vaccines, period. Like, we're coming to your house, we're giving you your shots, or, they haven't said what, but.
That's a tough sell. It's just when people, talk, because patients ask me, they're like, what's your opinion? And I'm like, I'm not going to get a lot into it, but this is my line. It's like, tell me tell me an institution that's run by the government that is amazing and perfect. And why do you want them to run your healthcare? Just tell me. In this campaign run in the next year or so, whenever there's, from every party, from the Republican Party, from the Democrat Party, show me a doctor next to one of those people that's touting these big changes in Medicare for all. Show me a doctor that they have like, hey, I'm here with Dr. So-and-so that sees patients, that's not retired or lobbies. And he's going to talk to you about how cool it is. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see that.
So how many people that have, let's say a regular job that's decent paying, let's say, do they also have their own insurance through their company as well then? And then they don't, so they don't have to have the ACA? Or is it both kind of like, because here like we have some extra insurance through our work. Usually people would opt into that as well, which helps with some other costs and stuff like that I guess isn't covered by our federal.
Well, dental's the big one.
Dental, yeah, right? Yeah, dental
and pharmacy, right?
Yeah, pharmacy, and then like massages and stuff like. There's also actually some naturopathic stuff in there. Like there's some really beneficial uses as well for that extra insurance, and I think it tops off some other stuff in the system as well, like maybe ambulance stuff or
ambulances.
Or like, if you lose an arm, maybe that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's for the ACA and big companies. What happened is that sometimes it's cheaper for them. So this was all enter a conspiracy here. It's cheaper for a company to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pay the $2,000 fee that I have to pay for not providing insurance for my patient, and I'll let them go into the ACA. Walmart's a huge employer, millions of people in the United States. So they're like, oh, it's cheaper for us to pay that fee.
Oh,
So it's awesome for us. So that would be a great thing for them because they're huge. But let's say I have a
Wait, say that again. So is the Walmart fee the same as a single person's fee would be because a corporation's same as a person?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's less than paying for insurance for a whole year for a patient, and that was before, let's say, in the 80s and 90s, and back when health insurance started, Kaiser Permanente creating their own hospital and their own clinics and having their own contracted doctors. It was for that same reason. You have a company, you're an entrepreneur, and you need to take care of your people. And that was one of the bonus things of working for certain companies. Like, oh, that's cool. They'll pay for my healthcare. That's awesome. Let's work for this company. But now, with the increasing costs in healthcare and the inflation, all that stuff, it makes sense that they're like, okay, wait a minute. We want to, save a little bit of money, and let's maybe pay not the fee. What's the other word I'm looking for? The money that you have to pay for not having your employee in insurance, and then
like a penalty, like the penalty.
Yes, the penalty. Sorry, guys. At this point, my neurons are after seeing a whole bunch of pages, my neurons are a little flat. But yes, so sometimes it's cheaper to pay that fee than to pay for the insurance. So
wow,
it's something that people don't think about, but if you're an economical mind and you're trying to figure out why it makes sense, it makes sense. If you have 3 pizza parlors and you have less than 50 employees, then shit, you better pay your insurances, or because the fees are going to be a lot of money for you. So it's built for small industry, small local businesses.
So it's forcing small businesses to pay for other people's health care.
Exactly.
Instead of the government paying for it with the whatever trillions of dollars are taken in a year in taxes. Because, I think that's the big argument, is if you're going to take all this money and waste it on bombs for fake fucking wars and everything else, mm-hmm. I'm not saying fake wars like people aren't dying. People are really dying. Just all the shit behind them and that's starting them is all bullshit. You're spending all that money. How much of that could be dialed back and just... I think that's the big argument is why don't you just take that money and pay for our health care? That's kind of what Canada does, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
but then we have our own challenges. That's the problem. Like, we don't have the right system either necessarily. People go down to the States to get real good high-tech procedures done.
Argument.
I have a friend that her mom has moved to Prague because the healthcare is not doing anything for her here in Canada.
Mexico's a big one too. People go to I've heard a lot of people going to Tijuana to deal with Lyme disease and stuff like that.
Yeah, so then we have
and dentistry in Mexico too.
Like my girlfriend hurt her shoulder again, and she can't get into an MRI, so it took her a few weeks at least to figure out what it was. And then she got her ultrasound. It took a few weeks to get that. Then she had to wait 2 months to get a doctor's appointment to review the ultrasound. She snuck in because she had a migraine, so she had to see them somewhere else and ended up getting a double visit, like getting her shoulder looked at as well. Mm-hmm. Now she's got a 6-month wait for an MRI. Like it's impossible to heal or to get any kind of progress or diagnosis on. And that's just with a physical injury that's easy to diagnose. Try diagnosing migraine problems or try diagnosing autoimmune problems or the stuff like that Darren's wife had. It's impossible to get anywhere in the system. So, it's comforting to know that you can just go to the hospital and you don't get a bill for like breaking an arm
that's the thing, because I know
Ryan, yourself or whatever.
Ryan got a bill for $10,000 for his little visit to the emergency room, and he spent the night.
So it's like an opposite thing. Like, it's nice to have that comfort level, but any kind of like long-term thing is a nightmare. And people go down there to get some real good high-tech things. And a friend of mine got an electronic, like a bioelectric plates put in her back to help with chronic pain. Yeah.
Neurostimulators.
Yeah. So there's but that can't be done in Canada.
How'd she pay for that then, though? That must just...
That was expensive, but you know what? They gave her a quote, and they refunded her, I think they gave her a quote and she had to do a down payment of like 50,000 or 100,000. But they gave her afterwards, they said, okay, we've tallied it all up and you get like a refund of 40 grand or 50 grand or whatever, because it didn't end up being as much as they thought it was. So that's,
Colombia.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's you see how by putting electronic health records on all that stuff, it forced mergers from hospital. I mean, if you have, where I lived in a small town in Iowa, Marshalltown, Iowa, and there's a small hospital, but it ran really good. It made good money, and it was kind of a legacy hospital, old doctors, old personnel. It was amazing, and there was a wealth of everything. The friendliest ER. It didn't look. You didn't have that feeling of scarcity when you go to a hospital in New York or in a big city that it just looks grimy. It was beautiful. Come in. Electronic health records. All money was misspent. It was a nightmare. What happens? 1 year later, hospital goes under. A big company sweeps in, buys merger, and now it's part of it.
Wow.
So it's yeah.
That's what's so weird. Like, so the hospital's bought and is part of so sooner or later, like you're going to have like three big companies that own all the hospitals in America. I mean,
exactly. So the movement was towards so the party that was in control at the moment of ACA, at the moment of EHR, was the party that was going, the Democrat Party that was going towards that. Okay. And so every move they're playing a chess game. They're not playing, they're not playing checkers, they're playing chess. So the move was, okay, what strategic moves can be made so this kind of rolls out smoothly. When you're playing chess, you're tricking the players with moves. And when that big checkmate comes in, you're not expecting it. And you don't have any counter move. So that's the same thing that happened kind of in the health system. It's consolidation and consolidation. There's a couple of wrenches that thankfully have been thrown into those gears, and we're in the trenches right now. But it's gonna take a lot of brave people and a lot of cool new ways of thinking, and doctors who's being outspoken for that to change. So luckily, I think we're at that tipping point where we have a lot of voices. So I'm very happy.
Oh, that's good. So what kind of system would you like, being in the trenches and being in that? And you've heard a little bit of some stories from our healthcare up here. What would you prefer then? So would it be single payer, like you said, the 3 layers of single payer that you already have, and then a free market in the middle there?
Yeah, I would say, I have a great idea. We already have those 3 single payers. I mean, the VA is completely owned by the state, so it looks more like the system in the UK. Medicaid and Medicare will look like what you guys have in Canada to some degree. So what I would say is, instead of allowing, it's the big mergers have happened already. That there's no stopping that, and we have to learn to live with that. But what I would say, work on the government owning public hospitals. Have a place where young physicians graduate and say, hey, you have this burden of $250,000 in debt that's going to be, at a 3% interest rate. You're going to be, $500,000 in debt in 10 years, and you're going to be paying, 30% or 40% of your wages. But people are still going to be thinking that you're driving a Maserati and that you're wealthy and that you got big pharma in your pocket. So these narratives are put there in place, and people have no trust in you. You're overwhelmed by the system. Instead of that, have public hospitals. Young physicians graduate. You give them an incentive and pay that loan, and you have a recent graduate that has all the fresh knowledge, that has all the chops and all the intensity to start working hard. And that hardware, in that, what's the word I'm looking for? That structure of a public hospital, public clinic health system. And you have people exclusively going there. The people that usually have Medicare, Medicaid, they have their own accessible place to go, primary healthcare clinics, hospitals. So it's its own thing, and it's ran by the youngest, the most energetic doctors in the system. Of course, you're going to have older doctors in there, and make it easier for them. Have a reduced form of electronic health records. Work on not making them, because when you make electronic health records mandatory, what incentive is there to the programmers at the Silicon Valley bros to make that product really effective and really streamlined? If it's your hospitals are,
that's a good point.
You have to get it. You have to get it. There's no point. And let's say you're a small hospital. You're like 250 bed hospital. You're looking at millions a year, and you adopted a system. Let's say you adopted XXY electronic health records. You've updated that 20 times. You put so much money on it. You double down on it. You can't say, okay, to hell with this. Let me try another one, like a lighter version. No, you're in deep. If you don't like that, then merge with another health system that has another electronic health record. So if you don't make them mandatory, it leaves room for innovation. You can innovate, and you can see these companies start to really compete to have a really comfortable, cool project, because they don't really care. They don't really care. They just want to make a system that gathers more data, more clicks. Count the clicks it takes you from. I'm seeing Darren. He has shoulder pain. You know how many? It's 30 or 40 clicks. Look.
No way.
30 or 40 clicks to get to his prescription.
Way.
1,
really?
2, 3, okay. Click, the name. Click, problem. Click, shoulder pain. Click, 9 out of 10. Click. So all those clicks, it paid off. It paid off. I have this prop right here. All those clicks to get to giving you celecoxib or meloxicam or whatever anti-inflammatory I'm going to give you. Let's say I'm going to do an MRI. So it's all these clicks. I'm not looking at you while I'm doing those clicks. I want to click the right boxes. I don't want to commit medical mistakes, because you know what? If I make medical mistakes, I don't get paid for the thing I did. I clicked the wrong box, I don't get paid.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, you'd think it'd be under voice recognition. You could just say what you want to do, and the thing would fill it out for you. You could repeat back what he's saying, and it could just tell that that's what you want to do, and make it more, invisible in the background, just capturing that information. I mean, we have the technology to do all that. I mean, they're gathering the data anyways.
Yeah, I mean, but there's systems. I mean, you can click in the HPI, the history of present illness, and there's Dragon. There's still called Dragon. You talk, blah, 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 blah. It dictates. But Medicare and Medicaid they don't want that story. They don't want that story. They want problem, intensity, chronicity, modifying factors, associated symptoms in that order.
Yeah.
So when they go in and they say, let me do a check these doctors' records and see, well, that doesn't thing. Let's go in and revise all his records and see, if that doctor can get, reimbursed or not. So there's a lot on the line for exact documentation, robotic, black and white,
Yeah. So how do you control everything that the government, like you even quoted that yourself, like you tell me something that the government owns or an organization of the government that's pristine and perfect. I mean, it just doesn't happen. I mean, it grows and grows and grows till it just seems to collapse. So how would you keep these government hospitals under control? And then how also, who visits that? So it's the Medicaid, Medicare, and VA that would visit that? Or what about the people that in the middle there that are now affected by the ACA? Like, where would they go to that as well?
Yeah, it's there's a whole bunch of people that went to the ACA, for example, the big companies that simply. So there was 1 million people that lost their insurance when the ACA rolled in. That doesn't get repeated enough. 1 million people, middle class people that just lost their insurance. You're paying $1,000 more or $500 more a month. It's a big deal if you have a 2-kid family and you're a middle class person. So, but I would say you need to revamp. Instead of trying to when you see a delicious burger, you take it one bite at a time. You don't stuff it in your mouth because you're going to asphyxiate and die. So if you try to control all of healthcare, I mean, it's going to be impossible. It's an impossible unless first of all, you're not going to be able to pay enough physicians the right amount of money to run it. So you're going to have to come up with, I don't know, some sort of alternative maybe for physicians, and maybe you could afford it. But revamp the system that you already have, that triple single payer system that we have, VA, Medicare, Medicaid, revamp it, invest in it, make it attractive for young doctors to participate in it, increase their participation. I mean, you have residencies, training doctors that see patients, increase the number of residencies. We have a doctor shortage. Instead of promoting the online diploma mill mid-levels, I love nurse practitioners and PAs, but there are, unscrupulous companies that are, cranking out, online programs to have mid-levels. I wish I had nurses. I don't anymore. I have medical assistants because nurses, it's too attractive for them. Like, what? I don't blame them. What? I can see patients like a doctor with 2 more years of training. I could prescribe. That's a dream. That's a dream. I would take that. I would take that option if I'm a nurse. But that leaves me without appropriately trained personnel to help me with the patients that I'm seeing, right? And I have great MAs in my clinic because I know how to pick and choose. I know how to do it. Puerto Rican nurses and MAs, they are the best. But it's wild, right? It's a substitution, and there's a kind of a designed system to make doctors less appealing, and people are losing the trust in them. So it's a big mess. Just improve what we already have. Medicare, Medicaid, and VA. Invest in that.
What's the number one health problem in the country?
Diabetes and hypertension, chronic illness, health literacy, those things.
What do you think's causing that? Is like diet the number one problem, do you think?
Or glyphosate and stuff like that.
Or
I've had patients asking about glyphosate. It's a Google does that to patients. Yeah, I would say it's living conditions, environment. I'm a big proponent of environment being the driving force behind disease process. I've lived in Mexico. I've seen people live a certain way. They get a different subset of diseases. I've lived in Puerto Rico, so I've seen disease. We live in Puerto Rico on a starchy diet, so it's rice, fried plantain, very low quality protein. So we see a lot of diabetes, hypertension, salty foods. You live in a country, you go to a country that poverty and food. There's a scarce food supply like Venezuela right now. When you see vitamin deficiencies, you see failure to thrive in kids, poor development, and you go to Mexico. You go to different places. You go to the Midwest. There's a wealth of wealth of resources, and you see strong people like Pat Miletich. Shout out to Pat Miletich. I know he's a friend of the show, I think, right?
Yep.
So different places harbor different living conditions and different environments that lead to different disease process and lead to different necessities of healthcare, right? You're not going to need the same system in Florida, in Tatooine, as I call it lovingly, that in California, that in San Diego, than in Utah. It's very different. So if you're pushing that cog of everybody the same, it doesn't work.
Right.
Different living conditions, different necessities. It's we need more smaller clinics, a market competition. It's healthy. What if I want to open a clinic and say, you know what? I want to open a clinic and I want to see patients for $25, $30, not off of insurance, most medication for healthy people, for normal conditions, you can get them through a good RX and different smaller pharmacies for a good price, good smart price. So you can go completely off insurances and say, hey, there's a new movement called direct primary care, where patients are going directly to your physician, and you're paying a subscription mode, and you just sit down with your doc, and you can sit down with your doc for half an hour, no problem. See him whatever you want. See him through telemedicine through an app, and have that way. But without competition. If we go the route of the automaton, a robot, everybody's the same system, and it's government controlled, you lose that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But would you lose your practice for doing something like that?
Yeah, everybody loses their practice. I mean, everything's going to be. If we go to a single payer, the government can pick which doctors are going to get paid, period.
So could that be a backdoor approach to vaccine agenda?
Could be. It could be. I can't say no to that. Most definitely. It could be a backdoor to many things. It could be a backdoor to, hey, this is the medication you're going to get. This is how much you're going to pay for it. It's going to be the same price for everything, which that works really great, right? If you want to buy Ezekiel bread, which is an awesome bread, it's expensive as all hell, but you want it, you work hard for it, you deserve it, right? Who am I to tell you, no, Darren, you're gonna
get Wonder Bread instead.
You're just gonna eat Ocasio-Cortez bread, and it's delicious, and that's your bread. Make sandwiches with it. That's it. Who am I to say that? Right? What are we going to do? That the commodities are the individual chooses. What are you going to buy? What are you going to consume? I thought really healthcare should be like that. It should be affordable, but we are the ones, the physicians with the license number, treating the patients. We should be able to say, hey, let's have a price point. Let's have doctors that have affordable offices. There's always going to be hodgepodge doctors that are concierge doctors, that are private home visit doctors. Those are the doctors that see the politicians. They're not going to a clinic that sees mainly ACA patients or Medicaid. They're not going to the VA. You think Joe Biden's going to the VA? No, he's going to a concierge doctor. The doctor's driving to his home. He's getting the most expensive prescription because they have this buying power, because they're people in power and they can afford it. Right?
He probably has a doctor that doesn't mind being grabbed around the shoulders.
Likes back rubs.
He likes back rubs and hugs.
A little bit of this,
Get in there, grind it out.
Work those stumps.
Yeah. I think we're going to be okay there. I think everybody's making fun of Joe Biden at this point. It doesn't matter.
He's already come clean about it. So how much? I got a question that's about sort of the scientific evidence and how you guys in the medical community, in the mainstream Western medical community, keep up on new science with health and wellness. Like, for example, saturated fats were demonized when I was growing up. Bacon was going to cause, heart disease, and cholesterol numbers are and the measurements all seem to be off. These diets, keto versus vegan now. And how do you, it seems like everybody's arguing that science is on their side. But I grew up where,
everyone just tells me the science is settled.
Sugar was good and fat was bad. It's all flipped on its end right now. Everything goes through a good and a bad phase with these studies that aren't real studies. How do you guys keep up to date on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's medical education, continued medical education. A way that I personally keep up and grow with it is making content. I have a page in Facebook called Rice and Beans Doctors, where I explain medicine in really simple terms. So the time that I don't have to spend with patients in the room, I go ahead and explain the things in the videos and edit the videos. I add a little bit of humor. So by doing that, I educate myself because okay, I'm going to do a lupus video. Next week is lupus awareness week. So I'll make a video about lupus. So I'll be forced to sit down and read. But that's dying because we're spending the same amount of time we spend with patients with electronic health records. So physicians are coming home around 7. You know, you're out of the office at 5:30 if you don't see patients in the hospital. And around 7, you sit down and you chart and you get on that computer and you slave away until 9, 10. And what do you want to do after that? You want to rest? You want to be with your family? If you have family, or you want to, go out and have fun, whatever you do. So you don't have time for medical education. So it's in dire necessity. We're in dire necessity, dire need of revamping that whole system so we can be freed up to do what we like to do, to be able to educate ourselves, be powerhouses, and be deciding factors in healthcare, be the engine behind healthcare. And education is a big part of that. And if we're spending so much time clicking away and being census gatherers, when is our time to really dig in and educate ourselves?
Yeah, even on the medication that you prescribe. I mean, there's a whole bunch of side effects. I mean, there's some crazy stuff that, I mean, and I liked how you did talk about that on another show as well, that the perception of doctors being just pill pushers and all that is not, you would think that's not correct, but it's hard to discount the pressure that it seems like. I mean, even we go to doctors here even, and it's not as bad in Canada, but I mean, I feel like I'm always getting pressured and questioned why I'm not on anything. And like, they look at you more like, oh, you're not on anything?
Well, I got to say, I tried to get the dentist to give me Percocets yesterday, and he said no.
Jesus Christ.
You got your tooth pulled, you just asked for Percocets, and they
I was
wouldn't
like, can I
do
just
it?
have a Percocet or two? Get me through the night. They said I couldn't smoke any weed for a couple of days.
Oh, that might be good for
So
you.
I was like, what?
Well, you were looking for that.
Grams
that time.
Dr. Mike Hart would be unimpressed with your stance on marijuana.
No, you got to take a break every once in a while and sober up. Then weren't you going to try that anyway?
I do
So
that
now
every
this can
day
be
when I
your
work.
this can be your
Get a Death
leg into
Star
that.
from Joey Diaz. Get one of those Joey Diaz chocolate Death Stars. You'll be fine.
There we go. Yeah. Now we're talking.
It's wild, yeah, but a lot of people don't know that we practice medicine. We have a license that's given to us by each state. They have their different requirements for your license, and you have to go to a different set of tests. And then to keep that license active, you have to have some educational credits too every year.
Mm-hmm.
We practice health by guidelines. I mean, the guidelines, to give you an example, diabetes. I know I've talked a lot about diabetes. So diabetes, the American College of Endocrinology has a set of guidelines. The American Diabetic Association has a set of guidelines, and we have to practice within those guidelines. Right, a sugar of 126 and above, that gives you diagnosis. A1C above 6.5. Glycosylated hemoglobin gives you the diagnosis. Those are the guidelines. You can treat with this, this, and this. Now, if you stray from those guidelines, you are liable legally to the patient because you strayed away from the guideline. Let's say the patient tells me, doctor, I just want to go, a really uncontrolled patient, right? Say 12 of A1C, 350 milligrams per deciliter of sugar, super uncontrolled. Definitely have to do some insulin work and some oral medication work, but I can accept some alternative medicine on the side with it too. But if I stray away from those guidelines and I document all that stuff, I'm liable.
Yeah,
I'm definitely liable. They're like, no, you're practicing outside the scope of your license. Right? If there's a patient, Darren wants to go to acupuncture for some pain or X or Y, Z problem, document that, and if I go outside the guidelines of the societies, I'm liable to lose my license. So it's all very controlled, and patients are not aware of these things. They'll tell you. I get all the time. I'll probably get comments on this podcast too, saying that, this doctor's full of shit. He has pharma in his pocket. I'm like, where the hell's that money? Where the hell? Because I want to buy a new car. I don't know where that treasure is.
We know you're
So-
clean because you made those comments about vaccines. So if you were in pharma's pocket, you would have been like, Darren, vaccines are 100%
Go
safe
get
and
your
effective.
3 MMR shots, because
Yeah.
3 is okay too. If you don't know if you got the second one, go get the third one.
I was years ago, I was in a podcast, in a paranormal podcast, when I was in med school. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jim Harold.
Yeah, we met him once at a conference.
Yeah,
We've had him on the show.
I was in one of his podcasts, Campfire, I think it's called Campfire, detailing
Campfire stories,
I'm vaccinated for everything, but still you got pretty strong case of chicken pox, and had a NDE, a near death experience, and I kind of narrated that stuff. So you got to be open. You got to be open to everything as a physician. You got to listen to your patients. You got to research what they want to hear. If you come in and tell me, hey, Dr. Vasquez, I want to take this herb. My approach is, okay, tell me the name. I'm going to go read up on it tonight. And next time we talk, let's see how we can fit this into your plan, because you have your health. You're your owner of your body.
That's great. No, that's awesome.
You're the owner of this body, and you're traveling through time, like Joe Rogan says, in this earth ball, that dirt ball that's floating around a nuclear explosion in the sun. So you have the power. It's a right. It's respectful of me to you to understand what you want to do with your body and give you a little bit of what I have. I'm like, hey, Darren, this is cool. I have this too. Let's put it together. Let's see what happens. Let's take this journey together. That's what medicine is.
That's great.
Then we'll eat some mushrooms.
So you had an NDE, you're saying?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Maybe quickly describe that before we go, if you don't mind.
My goodness. I make this every time a patient codes. You guys know what the code is, going flatline and dying.
Code blue and code. I've worked in a lot of hospitals, so I hear it all the time.
My goodness. Yeah. Every time I ask the patients, what did you see? And they get flabbergasted. They're like, oh, you're asking me? Well, this is what I saw. Blah, blah, blah. I get kids, people that are older, cancer patients stuff. There's a common theme, before death comes, you're seeing, kids in the ICU, so that's nurses in the ICU that are listening now. They'll know. They're like, oh yeah, kids, sick patients, patients in death's door, talking about little kids and laughing and running around. So that's a common thing. Not scary at all, by the way. Not scary at all. Not scary at all or creepy. But my NDE, I lived in a public housing project, so I lived below. If you imagine poverty line, now dig like 500 meters below. So I lived in extreme poverty in Puerto Rico, on the south side of Puerto Rico. Public housing project La Ceiba, actually, government housing. I got sick. Of course, my family was very low income. I had chickenpox. So I had this huge fever. I was very dehydrated. My parents were young. My dad was a paramedic, but my mom's pretty young. So I was probably super dehydrated and probably pushing low. This information I know now as a doctor, right? Remembering the situation and being, this is probably this and this was probably happening. So I just go into this kind of hazy, dreamlike state where I don't know if I'm awake or if I'm asleep. I stopped feeling the being, when you're in the bed, you're grounded, right? You're on solid earth. So I just felt that I was lifted, and I just felt everything kind of spinning super quickly. So I felt that, whatever was below me, the bed, was just gone. It was such a speed, like I felt rotational, almost like a rotational force. And I just started hearing like unintelligible voices, almost like
murmuring,
Asian, like an Asian language. Have you guys heard when in some Jet Li's movie. I think it's he's fighting with Donnie Yen, but just like not a harpsichord, but like a weird hum and people screaming, but this weird language. And that went on for a couple minutes, and then it just felt peaceful. I felt like I was floating in the middle of the lake. And boom, went to black, woke up the next morning, super dehydrated, went to pee. I peed black. And at the moment as a kid, I didn't understand what that meant. Right? As an adult and as a physician, I'm like, oh, that's called acute tubular necrosis. So my blood pressure dropped so low that my kidneys lost perfusion. So my kidneys were not getting blood. So I was probably very, very near to
not coming back.
Exactly. And it was, but it's a undescribable piece, what you feel. So it's weird, you know?
Wow. So you didn't meet anybody that said you're not ready for this, like you got to go back, that kind of thing?
No, so I didn't understand. It was this weird, and I understood, and I said, even as a kid, I understood that sounds like, you know, because there's a Chinese community in Puerto Rico, and there's a couple of Japanese communities, and you understand what that language feels like, but it was something similar but very different at the same time.
But it was Mongolian.
Yeah. Something weird like that, and then that it's almost like very tumultuous, very stressful, but then it just like boom, almost like some complete and utter peace.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I woke up the next morning.
Wow.
Drank some water, hopefully.
Jesus Christ, did I? Just thirsty. Had the worst cotton mouth ever. And drink a whole bunch of water. I made a full recovery, and I'm here to tell the story, but I think he wrote it in one of his books, Campfire, Stories by the Campfire. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Right on. Well, we're going to have to add you to our health board here in Grimerica. We got you and Dr. Mike Hart so far. And actually, we'll throw
have a lot more than that if you go back.
Dr. Rick Strassman on there, the DMT doc.
Yeah.
We're going to have a great time. When the world ends, we'll all meet up.
I got you, boys. You know, I'm getting the seeds now. I was listening. I was, taking notes on the previous, transmission that you guys were making. And we'll get the seeds. We'll meet up somewhere in the middle, and we'll start it over.
I like Sandpoint, south side of the bridge in Sandpoint. That's the unofficial meeting spot for after the apocalypse currently. But we could always change it up.
Awesome. I'm on board. I'm on board to set up that new medical staff.
That's right. Who knows? Maybe you could be the Surgeon General.
Yeah.
I got it, boys. I'm ready for it.
Right on. Hope you got everything out that you wanted to talk about.
Where can our listeners track you down?
Absolutely. I mean, on Twitter, I'm under @Dr. Yared. That's @DRYARED. Dr. Yared with a Y and a D at the end. It was a cool name before Jared from Subway messed it up. So one of these days I'm gonna have words with that Jared. On Instagram, I'm under Octagon Doctor. Facebook, I'm under Octagon Doctor 2. And Facebook, I have a cool page that I started, like I told you guys, with a blog. It's in English and Spanish both. We explain medical terms, and we take. You can go and say, hey, doc, make a video about high blood pressure, in a simple way to understand. We'll do it. It's called Rice and Beans Doctors, alluding to the folk food in Puerto Rico. Really poor people, that's our staple food, rice and beans. So on the Rice and Beans Docs on Facebook. So Dr. Yared in Twitter, Rice and Beans Doctors in Facebook, Octagon Doctor in Instagram as well. People don't be shy if you have a question about health. Contact me. When Brody Stevens passed away, from suicide earlier this month, we had a $5 telemedicine clinic month in his name, and it was a huge success.
Okay.
We were able to reach a whole bunch of people for $5 a pop in telemedicine. A lot of them I saw them for free as well, and we were able to get good help for them. Antidepressant medication. In some cases that wasn't necessary. In other cases, just an ear that could listen to the problem. So pretty happy about that. We're going to do it every March. And hopefully next year in March, we're able to kind of roll back and do an episode here in Grimerica and be able to put it out there and get more people treatment. It's not about money. It's about making connections and about healthcare.
Right on. That sounds awesome.
Sounds great. Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Yared. It's been a blast.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
And we'll catch up on Twitter and come back anytime.
Awesome, brother. You guys take care.
Buddy. Thanks, man.
Right on.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Goodbye.
Now is our chat with Dr. Yared. What'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, it was that was good. Yeah.
That was a fun one,
It was
eh?
interesting. Yeah, I like getting a perspective from a doctor in the States.
Yeah, it's kind of last minute. We didn't know really what we're getting into. Turns out, great guest.
Yep.
Great guy. We had another doctor for our board of directors of medicine, Grimerica one day.
Yeah, it's good to see the other side and all that perception of people, the doctors in there just pushing pills and driving Lamborghinis and stuff, like all the TV shows. It seems to be that's what's causing that perception, maybe, and the media, I guess. I don't know.
TV shows?
Yeah.
The TV shows? I don't watch a lot of TV shows, but I don't know. I assume doctors in the States were all rich.
Apparently not. Not when you got $250,000 in debt.
Yeah, there is that.
That takes a while.
I know in Canada it was a bigger problem was like if we lose a lot of doctors to the States, I thought, because they could go make more money with private practices.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another challenge. Huh?
Anyhow, what are you going to do? Live in a shoe.
I don't know. I wonder what the best system would be, really. I wonder what the best system in the world is.
The best idea is to have a doctor in your family. Like, you just have Uncle Dr. Joe that you could just go see, and he doctors you up. Skip the line, get some prescriptions when you need them. You should be a doctor. We'll send you to medical school. How much is it?
$200,000.
Never mind. Can't afford it. You be a witch doctor. Anyway, big thanks, Yared, for coming on the show. Check out his stuff. Check out his social media. Check out Grimerica.ca/support, guys, and do sign up for monthly if you don't mind. Our supporters are fantastic. You get access to a little extra content when you do, and you also get to support the podcast and help us keep doing these chats and stay affiliate-free, sponsor-free, free all that corporate influence, ad-free. This thing is bugging me. Get rid of that. Ad-free, what else free? Everything's free. Everything's free. But we do still have bills to pay, and we appreciate that you guys help us out with those. So Grimerica.ca/support. If you want to be one of the coolest people on the planet, Grimerica.ca/support. Because what else you got, buddy? That's about it.
Yep, that's about it.
We'd like to thank all you guys for listening to the podcast. Do all the stuff in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
No one has ever heard a word as dirty as the word politics. Rhetoric written in some self-proclaimed prophecy. Imaginary lines twisted and tangled with a handshake with a signature and some policy papers behind enemy lines. Tension builds, a cell phone rings, a bomb drops in a city street sea of iPod noise. Don't get comfortable, free thinkers. Don't get comfortable, free thinkers. If the digital revolution still got a pulse, we need to revive it and make it a reality. I've hacked into a politician's password and transferred money into several overseas accounts. And as we speak, a supercomputer project is in the works. And if it works, we'll use it to point and click our way to some sort of truth. Either you're in or out, are you game, or is the game over? This must be a glitch in the
for them laser beams. Climb to the top of the pyramid scheme. Capitol Hill's getting steeper and steeper. Meanwhile, the deck gets deeper and deeper. Don't get comfortable, free thinkers, cause it's gonna take more than hand and eye coordination on your PlayStation. It's gonna take mind elevation. There must be a glitch in the Matrix. There must be a glitch in the Matrix. A revolutionary dream. It's me versus the machines. Go! Breaking from my routine, I dive into my computer screen. Swimming in a sea of zeros and ones. Trying to put together two and two, but I keep getting lost. Trying to weed through all the lines from the bad guys in the suits and the neckties. Help me find the oracle. She has the answer. There must be a glitch in the Matrix. There must be a glitch in the Matrix. A revolutionary dream. Rage against the machine. Don't get comfortable, free thinkers. Rage against the machine.
Grimerica.ca/support. Grimerica.ca/support. Oh, fee, fi, fiddly-I-O. And tell them Felix sent you.